What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today is Monday, June 14th. We got a lot to talk about. We got the Euros going on. We got Copa America. We're going to talk a little bit about the LA Galaxy. We got the Seattle Sounders. We got a very special guest on here with us today. But first, let me introduce these guys. We got Chris Maldonado from the Galaxy Guy podcast. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to be on your show once again. Ready to talk about some LA Galaxy, some Seattle Sounders. Is going to be a really great game.
Yeah, and we also got Niko Moreno. He covers the Seattle Sounders. Niko, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Obviously, thank you for the invite. A huge hello to you, to your audience. Happy to be here, talk some Sounders. I love that LA Galaxy Sounders rivalry. I loved it from the very beginning when I started covering the team. I still love it today. So just excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Before we get into it, Niko, I want the listeners to get to know you a little bit more. Tell us like how long you've been covering the Seattle Sounders and why the Seattle Sounders and how you got started there.
Yeah. I obviously started covering the team back approximately 2011 is when I started really going at most practices and being at the games. I started with ESPN Seattle a while back, ESPN Seattle Radio, and it was kind of a show with Felipe Maqueda, which was the person who kind of got me on board on broadcasting and journalism. And it started just like a Saturday thing, you know. I would come in and we talk Liga MX and we talk South America, Comebol. I mean, all of that. My real fit in was football. I love football, and in Spanish there isn't a lot of analysts that really know the game. So that was kind of like my end. I was part of the broadcast for the Sounders, the Spanish broadcast on the daily game-to-game basis for about 3 years, and then after that, I just went on to do other journalism, writing for SoundersAtHeart today. I have my own outlet, Pulso Sports, which has been doing great and excited about everything that we've been doing. And then I also write for MLS in Spanish. And that's kind of, in a nutshell, everything that I've been doing since 2011.
Wow, I mean that's very amazing that you started, and now obviously you're here doing your own thing. And to your point, like whenever you talk about that Galaxy and the Sounders, right? So there's so much history there and everything that's been going on, and I think it's just very impressive like that you've been with the team and everything that you've been seeing it right since 2011. I'm just curious, like what have you seen? Like how are they so consistent to make it to the playoffs like every year?
You mean the Sounders?
Yeah, the Sounders, yeah.
Yeah, it's just about structure. It's about really knowing how to use the resources. Seattle's the type of team that never misses on DP players, and that is a huge benefit to any team because it doesn't hinder your cap space and it doesn't hunt you for 2, 3, 4 years. They do a fantastic job at following players, and not just what they do on the field, but those intangibles. So obviously, Chris Henderson no longer here. He's obviously with Inter Miami today, but Chris Henderson is a huge part of the success that Seattle had here. Obviously, Sean Henderson and the rest of the team that's worked with him. Also, Adrian Hanauer and how involved as an owner and how careful he is to really go after the players that really talk to the organization, I think is a huge point. As of I think they've always done a good job at working their academies, but there was a huge emphasis on that once Garth Lagerwey came on. I think that he has done fantastic. I've been a fan ever since the very first time when he was presented, when I got to talk to him off the scenes, right after, they presented him to the media. He's just a guy that really knows what he wants. He has a set of objectives and has been able to do so since. And I think another huge thing that Seattle does is that just keeps that internal individuals that really go after the organization. Brian Schmetzer is the best example. He has been an assistant throughout the whole time he was with the Sounders. He's obviously done the USL thing as a coach, as a player. And I think that's huge, just keeping those guys that really talk the DNA of the Sounders is huge for it. So it's a little bit of everything. But if I had to really point it out and kind of take the romanticism of soccer out of it and just kind of put it out in numbers, I just think that it's about structure knowing how to build your roster and knowing exactly how to use your resources, from homegrown players to DPs to TAMs, and as the league changes and evolves, just being able to grow with that and know exactly how to exploit that to your benefit. So
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, very well detailed there. I mean, they also got some national team players that they're pretty good. But Chris, I want to talk before we get deeper into this. I want to talk about the Euros and Copa America. We'll just briefly touch on it because it's going on. Well, what are your thoughts on what? Obviously, Christian Eriksen. I think we should hit on that. But I think he I don't. I want to be correct on this. Obviously, he passed out. I think they had to give him CPR and all of this. But what are your thoughts on what's going on over there with the Euros and Copa America?
Sure, man. I was able to catch some of the. I'll be honest with you. I'm keeping up with Copa America a little bit more. It's teams that are a little closer to home, players that I'm more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenal stuff. I mean, I just caught the Chile Argentina game, the 1-1 draw. Lionel Messi doing Lionel Messi things. Hopefully, Argentina makes it far. I feel like Messi is in need of some international silverware to really be in that conversation of greatest of all time. But that's just my opinion. As far as what happened with Christian Eriksen, it's very unfortunate. You hate to see it in the world of soccer. I mean, these are guys that are in tip-top physical shape. And for something like that to happen to a pro athlete whose job it is to be in tip-top physical shape, it's always scary, and it's very unprecedented that kind of stuff really shouldn't be happening. So, they're saying it might have been like a cardiac thing, a respiratory thing. It's still kind of unclear. But the good thing is that the guy left the game and he was conscious. At least it looked like he was conscious. So that's a good sign. And hopefully he'll be back on the field soon once he's fully recovered.
Yeah, no, I mean, I watched it. I caught like the end of it, and I was able to go on my because I got I think I got YouTube TV or whatever I have on, and I was able to rewind it and kind of see what actually happened because I kept seeing it on Twitter, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. What I loved was the teammates standing around him, so no one could get a clear view what was actually going on, right? And
Sure.
and I was like, man, I've seen players pass out like that. It's never a good thing. But Niko, what were your thoughts on obviously in the Euros, like Christian Eriksen, and obviously on the Copa America? What's going on?
Yeah, well, let's start with the most important one, which is obviously what happened to Christian, and it's very unfortunate. I literally just switched over for a second, and then I came back on and kind of saw the play develop and how everything was happening. It really puts in perspective the type of pressure, the type of endurance that these players have to go through. I mean, being a high performance athlete really puts your body in a huge disadvantage at one point or another, because there's so many competitions. You got your club play, you got your international play, and it really makes you feel for these guys. So as fans, as analysts, as journalists, we should really think about the type of effort and sacrifice that these guys have to put into, just play the game that they love. So it was huge. I was glad to see him get back. Actually, I heard that he died. I mean, he was revived on the field.
Yeah.
So I wasn't happy with the decision of UEFA to get these guys to play the game. As I've been reading, they had two options. Either they forfeit and they would play the next day at noon, or they had to go back and play. There was never a, hey, let's just leave it at a draw. I mean, they had to play the game. And it was really unfortunate because I know that seeing the guys and seeing your teammate, and you could just see it on everybody's who was on the field. It was unfortunate that they really had to play it. So that was the only aspect that I didn't like. Euros in total, in general, just as Copa America, if there's a take that we can take out of both of these competitions, is that there has been a huge break from where national teams have been playing, because it hasn't been great. There hasn't been great soccer. Copa America, particularly, Colombia winning 1-0 against Ecuador. It was a very poor performance, especially throughout the first half. Colombia, obviously, gorgeous goal, a free kick in which it's Cuadrado says that they didn't really have it planned out. Cardona said that they had planned it out previously in Barranquilla. Don't really quite know, but it was a beautiful goal. But aside from that, there wasn't really much soccer. I was very disappointed in Reda making 7 substitutions to kind of just experiment with the team on the debut of Colombia. So there wasn't great play. Venezuela and the 15 COVID cases that they had clearly, obviously hindered their ability to just play against Brazil. Brazil with everybody, all the stars, completely takes over, 3-0 victory. So there hasn't really been great soccer. And if we go to the Euro, we see a lot of the same thing. Croatia is a shell of what they were in the World Cup last season. Today, Sweden and Spain, it was very one-sided. Spain, 85% of the possession to only 16 of 17 of the Swiss team, the Sweden team. So you just see a little bit of that rust coming off. I'm hoping that he gets better as both tournaments progress, but it's been interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean the big thing today, I know Chris hit on it. It was Lionel Messi Chile game. I caught the end of it, Lionel Messi, he scored that beautiful free kick. And I think they showed the replay. It was like 10 days ago, whenever Chile and Argentina played recently, and the keeper had stopped it, but then Messi went right back with them. To the left of the keeper, and he made it this time, which I thought it was a spectacular game. But I think that was one game Argentina really wanted to win, and obviously it felt more like a win for Chile because they got the 1-1 tie. And anytime,
especially a very anemic Chile team. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the lack of Alexis Sanchez on the field, but this team just was very bleak, very flat. There was nothing about them that really made them dangerous. They should be lucky that Argentina, that honestly has not been clinical in front of goal over the last 4 or 5 games. Believe you me, they gave Colombia a chance to get back in the game in qualifiers. They had us 2-0. Colombia is able to make some changes, and that allows back in the game. It was a lot of that today with Argentina. Chile didn't really propose a lot of soccer. They didn't really have that ability to be dangerous, very flat, very narrow, and honestly didn't take advantage of it. Then the PK happens, they tie it up. So once again, it goes back to, for me, CONMEBOL soccer is the best in the planet. There's no better competition in the world that I'd rather see.
It's exciting.
No Champions League, no nothing. I want to see qualifiers. I want to see Copa America. That's what I want to see.
And so you put it over Champions League? You put it over Champions League?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Oh yeah,
that's pretty bold. That's pretty bold because there's a lot of the players that play in Champions League. A lot of those players play in Champions League.
Yeah, but there's a different play. There's a different aspect. Yeah. There's something about CONMEBOL and Argentina having to play. Argentina having to play in La Paz against definitely a bad team, but where they're barely have air in their lungs and they're trying to make it happen. And then you got Argentina playing in Colombia, in Barranquilla at noon, sun up, they're in an oven, closed up. I mean, there's something about just all that I just absolutely love. So once again, not to the level of soccer necessarily. I think it's great, but if I had to choose, if I got in one room, the Champions League final, and the other one I have CONMEBOL qualifiers, I'm watching qualifiers.
That's a bold. I like it. To finish off with this topic, Chris, who do you got winning the Copa America?
Listen, man, I'm very biased. I love Lionel Messi, and I really, really do want him to win this with Argentina. He needs it. He really needs it. Argentina needs it. I think that I wouldn't say they're the favorite, but you can't ever count Argentina out. My money's on Argentina. So
nice, Niko. Who do you got winning this?
There's only one favorite here. It's Brazil. They're at home. They got everybody, right? They got Neymar. They got a good defense. Richardson hasn't been really great. They got Alisson on goal. Tite really knows how to work this guy. They've been walking through the qualifiers. I mean, these guys are having a coke and a smile throughout the entire qualifiers. So they have to be the favorite, clearly being at home. But so that's who I would have to have winning. I mean, if you told me, Niko, bet $1 million, I bet it on Brazil. But obviously, being Colombian, I would love for them to win their second one. They've only won one in their history. They have the quality, they have the talent, but Reinaldo Rueda, being a new coach, First, he said he wanted to win it. Now, after game one, he says he wants to try out a bunch of players. So I'm not really loving that confidence. He kind of feels like he's preparing in case things go bad. He
So
could be
so
like,
is it
"Oh
so
man,
it's Brazil. It's Brazil first, your option, and then Colombia is what I got.
absolutely, that's what it is." Brazil, I have my money on it, but my heart
Okay.
says Colombia.
I like that. I like that. All right, so moving on. I'm gonna say Brazil. Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard with Brazil, but like you would love to see Messi, but I still haven't seen enough yet of Argentina. Maybe you could turn it around. But like moving on, let's talk about obviously Seattle Sounders and the LA Galaxy playing this Saturday at Dignity Health Sports Park. We know what happened the first time around when the LA Galaxy went up there. They ended up getting shut out. I believe it was 3-0. It was a tough game for everybody all around. But one positive thing that came out of this, I think that was like one of the first games that they got punched in the mouth, and they're like, okay, we got to figure out a few things, right? So now we go to Dignity Health Sports Park, which you mentioned is going to be full capacity. The stadium's going to be packed. What are your thoughts, Chris, on having a full capacity Dignity Health Sports Park?
It's going to be fantastic, man. I listen. I have been to the games this season so far. We had games with 5,000-6,000 fans in the stadium, but even those 5,000 or 6,000 people, they had been without soccer for an entire year. They were just so hungry for it. The energy was there. It was just bottled up for an entire year. Those 5,000 and 6,000 sounded like 30,000. So I can only imagine what full capacity Dignity Health Sports Park is going to sound and feel like. It's definitely going to be electric. I know the team is going to feel that, especially with the magnitude of this game versus the Sounders, because let's face it, this is the best team in MLS right now. There's so many implications for this game. The LA Galaxy could potentially tie Seattle in points on the table if they win this game at home on Saturday. So the atmosphere is going to be electric. It's honestly probably going to feel like a cup final or a playoff game, in my opinion. So I'm excited, man. I know you guys are. I know everybody out there is excited. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah, Nico, give us your thoughts. Obviously, the Seattle Sounders coming into town, right? You guys are going to be flying down, coming in and playing at a fully packed house. You're not, we know what happened the first time around, but what are your thoughts on Seattle coming playing over here?
I mean, I was really excited till this whole rumors about Javier Hernandez possibly being in the Gold Cup roster, because that's going to just change things a little bit, obviously. I love to see Raul Ruidiaz on one side, Javier Hernandez on the other. Raul Ruidiaz obviously not being taken into account by Gareca for Copa America, so he's coming back traveling with a huge chip on his shoulder. I can tell you that knowing Raul, the way he is as a person, as a player, talking to him constantly, he's gonna come in here guns blazing. Raul Ruidiaz has had his eye on the golden boot of the league for several years. He was one away from Diego Rossi in the past. He wants it bad. So I would really tell the LA fans to watch out, because that guy's gonna come in, just hot. So that's number one. Number two, I think Seattle's gonna go out there in the same type of mentality. This team is going to be very, very motivated to get rid of the bad taste in their mouth, the 2 draws at home left against Austin, obviously against Atlanta, where they weren't able to really play their soccer. So I think it's going to be a very good game. Raul Ruidiaz changes this whole aspect. We thought it was going to be Will Bruin and Freddie Montero. Now it's going to be probably Will and Raul Ruidiaz. Brad Smith is back. He had a small setback with an injury, but he's been practicing, as far as I know, should be available for the Galaxy game. Yemer Gomez Andrade is the stronghold in the back. He's going to be great. Nuhu, obviously, with him. Shane O'Neill will more than likely take Javier Arriaga's place, who is currently with Ecuador at Copa America. So it's going to be a great game. I really do think it's going to be a back-and-forth battle because at home, like you just said, I feel like the Galaxy are going to be more aggressive than they were here. However, I do feel like Seattle is very equipped to, if Javier Hernandez wants to play, to really cancel him out, to really cut off his services, which is exactly what they did here. They just put him in an island, suffocated him completely, did not allow any balls to get to him. So it should be a good game, though. But I think Seattle's really going to get out there, and you'll see them be more aggressive than they typically are away.
Yeah, I think either. I mean, this game's gonna be right both, and to your point, I think I don't think we should be ruling out Chicharito as of yet. I have a feeling he's gonna play this game. I'm pretty sure he'll play this game. This may be one of his final games if he gets called up to the Gold Cup. But nevertheless, Chris, you just mentioned it, right? We'll look at the leaderboard right now. Obviously, Seattle and on first place with 18 points, right, and then
Right.
number 3, the LA Galaxy with 15 points. So obviously, a win puts it up there. Puts him right up there with the Seattle Sounders. But let's talk about this, right? Because we heard, we talked about Greg Vanny, and about the Chicharito, and he said he deserves to be in the discussion, right? So now these things are coming about Chicharito. But what are your thoughts on the Galaxy potentially being out without a Chicharito for a couple or 3 or 4 weeks, maybe a month, I believe. But going into this game, I think obviously he's going to have to leave it all out there, but we want to see a great performance from him.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
it's never a good thing when when you lose your top goal scorer, right? It always leaves you in a very bad position when that happens. Now, Chicharito has earned himself a call up to the national team, not only because of what he's done this season, which means 7 goals in 7 games is pretty impressive, but he is Mexico's top leading goal scorer of all time. As it stands right now, he deserves that call up. He needs to be on that team. Unbiasedly, I'm saying that because biasedly as a Galaxy fan, I wouldn't want him to go on international duty ever again, right? Because he misses games. But he's earned it, and he definitely needs to go. It's going to put us in a tight spot, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as it could be had we not purchased Kevin Cabral, Samuel Grandsir, and we have Ethan Zubak on the bench. He's a guy. He's an option. Kevin Cabral is also an option. You can also slot him in as that sole target striker. So we have options. There's depth here. There's things we can move around to make it happen, but it could potentially hurt us. Hope not.
Yeah, well I think the thing that with Chicharito, right, is he like, to your point, he's deserved it. After what I saw with the U.S. men's national team, which they deserved to win, which they got the win, I was like, yeah, moving forward, Chicharito or number 9 deserves to be up there, because if the game would have been different. You hate to talk about like, oh, if they had this player, right, but you clearly know what the Mexican national team is missing, and they're missing a player like Chicharito. So that's exciting for him. Him playing and potentially getting called up and making the final roster, which we all assume, right? But a lot of things are going to change. But I think one of the things is tactically what we've seen from the Seattle Sounders, right? Niko, you guys typically play like it's a 5-3 in the back, right? It's a combination of a 5-3 in the back. Talk to me about your defense and how you guys tried to disrupt the forward, Chicharito, the wingers, and all of that.
Yeah, they just try to beat him out in numbers. That's just basically what it is. It is a 5-man backline essentially at times. Whenever Brad and obviously Alex Roldan drop back, and if it's not Alex or Brad, is always going to be one of those inside or center midfielders is going to drop back. Joe Paulo is a very smart tactical player. He's not the fastest, but he manages to cover a lot of space because he knows how to place himself and knows how to read how attacks are coming by. So he's going to be that guy that's going to get in between that line, push out Yamar that is extremely fast, can cover ground, and he's going to make sure that they're always disciplined, and that drawing, that tactical 3 is never going to be misshaped, right? So I think that's what Seattle does perfectly. Nuhu changing to center back has been obviously the revelation this season. I thought that it was a fantastic idea, and credit to the entire coaching staff of Seattle to really be able to fit 2 of the more dynamic players in the same field, right? With Brad Smith and Nuhu, they were always interchangeable. They both provided a lot of that speed, and obviously Nuhu being that lockdown defender you would have that in and out. Now you have it constantly, and it's worked perfectly for Seattle. I know that there's been a lot of talks about his inability to really put passes through and all these things, but I think that Nuhu is growing as a center back. I think that he can break lines by driving the ball, by dribbling through the lines, and I think that makes this team extremely good. So defensively, when it comes to Javier Hernandez, they're just going to make sure that there's always two guys on him. They're going to be physical with him. They're going to not allow him to get the ball in the final third, and that's exactly what they did here in Seattle. They're going to make sure that the wingers, whether it's Cabral or on the other side, if it's even maybe your fullbacks pushing through, they're going to make sure that there's no service through. So another thing that Seattle does, not necessarily defensively, but it is with their wingbacks, they try to pin you back and make you defend by keeping those guys high as well. So I think that's some of the stuff that you might see against the LA Galaxy. My only concern.
I want to hit on that. Let's hit on that, right? Because of the services in the crosses too. Because Nico brings up a great point of limiting the crosses in, right? Because of the 5 defensive and how they do that, right? Sure. That instantly comes into my mind. Kevin Cabral, Samuel Grandsir, right? Julian Araujo, Jorge Villafana, right? So I think that offensively, right? Like to approach this game, right? You want to break those lines. You want to be more creative. To the Galaxy,
it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. So give me your thoughts on how they break that back 5.
So listen, and I, as a diehard Galaxy fan, right? I also have to be unbiased as a reporter. The Seattle Sounders are number 1 for a reason. They have a phenomenal defense. They've only allowed 3 goals all season. They have the highest goal differential in the league, 11 plus goals. They've scored the second highest amount of goals in the league. So not only are they good defensively, they have a potent offense. Raul Ruiz being one of the best, if not arguably the best striker in the league. He's only 1 goal behind Chicharito, by the way. The Galaxy have their work cut out for them. And we saw them slice the LA Galaxy down in Seattle a couple of weeks ago. Okay, the way the Galaxy breaks down that Seattle defense, okay, is Kevin Cabral and Samuel Grandsir. Because the way Chicharito plays, he's not a dynamic striker that's going to be cutting through lines and weaving through defenders. That's not his style of play. It's going to depend on those 2 Frenchmen, that French connection. Their youth and their speed is going to have to win the day for the LA Galaxy on Saturday. They're going to have to just blaze as fast as possible through that defense. We saw Kevin Cabral do it in the last game. The kid has the talent. He has the ability to do it. He can take on defenders one-on-one. He's going to have to do that this game, and then he's going to have to get the ball to Chicharito. That's the way it's done, but also it's going to be a battle of the midfields. And like Nico said, one of the strongest pieces in that Seattle Sounders team is João Paulo. He is the best central defensive midfielder in the league. The guy is arguably the best player on the Seattle Sounders, in my opinion. He's the guy that makes that team work. So the LA Galaxy definitely has their work cut out for them in the defense, the midfield, and the offense. But I think that's the key to victory, the 2 French kids.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think also seeing Kevin Cabral, whoever he gets paired up with on the left side, whether there's Gomez or Rodon on that side, it's gonna be very interesting because this is where I like to see. This is, I think, a game for Kevin Cabral to explode, right, against the number 1 team right now. I just want to get into the chat. Jose Lopez says Brad Spitt is my favorite Sounders player. Seems like he never gets tired. I would agree with that. And he says, look at this group, que combo. He also says, when Chicha goes to the Gold Cup and Rui Diaz averages 2 goals per game in spite of the Copa America snub. I mean, we could definitely see that. I mean, right now, we can definitely see that. So right now, Javier Chicharito has 7 goals, Raul Ruiz has 6. Jesus Medina has 5 and Alan Pulido has 5. So, I mean, that's definitely going to change, right? If Chicharito's not playing. in MLS. But what another thing what I want to get into is give us your thoughts on Brad Smith, because Jose, he makes a great point. He's had some very crucial goals for you guys against the LAFC is what I remember. Brad Smith just coming up clutch. Give me your thoughts on Brad Smith so far this year.
I mean, Brett Smith was a great addition. I loved him from the very first time I saw him practice here at Starfire. Then eventually he became a big part of what Seattle tried to do. I used to love to see his pairing with Victor Rodriguez at the time, and the ability for him to cut inside and Victor stay outside, and they were interchanged. So
I think we lost you.
I was getting a call. I just hung it up. Obviously something that Brett Smith does well is his ability to just get forward, right? Being an attacker, and he does that well. I keep getting a call. If there is something that he maybe could do better that he hasn't done great this season, is that pass in the final third. It has not been as crisp. It's not been as clinical as he potentially can be. There's been a couple of games just recent in which he could have potentially had an assist for a goal-changing victory for Seattle against Atlanta. But he's obviously been somebody that, because of the new formation, has benefited. He gets so far forward that he's always in a position to score goals. Alex Roldan and his ability to just put great balls, services inside, helps him as well, because he's always going to be making that run to the second post. So he's a very smart player. He's someone who honestly gives Seattle a lot of width, which you wouldn't have without him. I mean, and that was the whole reason why Seattle went to this formation, was the lack of wingers. No Jordan Morris, no speed on the outside. So what do? You bring wingbacks, and Brad Smith's a huge part of it. So he's a very crucial player for Seattle, absolutely, and he's going to continue to do it. I think that although he had that small injury, I expect him to be in full form against the LA Galaxy, but he is absolutely important for what Seattle tries to do.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very impressed with Brad Smith, and the player we're talking about earlier, right, Raul Ruidiaz. Chris, give me your thoughts on how the Galaxy can contain him, right? Because that's a player I feel like you can only contain. He's very talented, right? You got Araujo, Daniel Stairs, I'm assuming Nick Dupuis, Jorge Villafana. Potentially that could be the back starting lineup. That's why I'm going off of the last game. But how are the Galaxy going to be able to contain Ruidiaz?
Did you say the center back pairing is going to be Steres?
I said there could be. It could be.
Okay.
It could be. That's what I'm going off for.
I'm expecting Sega to make a start here.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I'm expecting Sega to make a start here over Nick Dupuis. That's just a very educated guess, because we don't know what his physical condition is. He just got into the States, I believe, 2 weeks ago. He went through quarantine period, so he might be a little rusty. I guess it all depends on what Greg Vanney sees on the training pitch. But listen, as far as your question's concerned, Raul Ruidiaz is the guy's a pit bull. He's a pit bull, and he's a very dynamic striker. His short stature just helps him so much, because despite his stature, I've seen the guy muscle very big defenders off the ball. Mm-hmm. He just finds a way to get through defenders very easily sometimes. He finds his positioning is great. He can weave his way through with the ball, off the ball. It doesn't matter. So the LA Galaxy is going to really have to lean in on that veteran presence of guys like Jorge Villafana, Daniel Steres. They're going to have to really keep a close eye on him all night. And another thing, the LA Galaxy does have a new addition, something they didn't have for the last game with the Seattle Sounders in Seattle. That's Ryan Revelson, our new central defensive midfielder. So this adds a new dynamic to the Galaxy, something we haven't had in a very long time. I know some people will argue and say that Jonathan Dos Santos has been that player for us, but that's not his natural position. He's not a natural center defensive midfielder like Seattle has with João Paulo. And of course, now the Galaxy has with Ryan Revelson. So hopefully that added measure of defense in that midfield will allow the defenders a little bit more breathing room when it comes to defending a guy like Raul Ruidiaz, who is so dangerous no matter what. So
is Revelson already here? Is he?
He
Is he?
he is here. He is here, and he has been training with the
But I don't know
team.
if he'll be available for this game.
Actually, you know what? I am mistaken. I am mistaken. He is not here yet. He is still in the
Okay,
visa process.
that's what I. That's
Um,
what I.
right. That's still during the visa process. I'm thinking Sega. Sega is here. Sega is
Yeah.
training. We can hope and pray that further down the line, Ryan Revelson is with the team. But yeah, so I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. That veteran presence, Jorge Villafaña and Daniel Steres are really going to have to hold it tight. And Sega Coulibaly, I mean, the guy's going to have to really show up big for the LA Galaxy on what could arguably be his first game, right?
Yeah.
What a first game! What a way to test yourself against the very first. Your very first game is against the best team in the league, against one of the best strikers in the league. So, test
Yeah,
the
no,
trial by fire.
He's gonna be a handful. He's gonna be a handful, guys. I gotta tell you, I and the crazy part about this,
They kept
the
he kept
crazy,
getting called.
I know
You're a busy man.
the crazy part about this whole thing, guys, is that I had a one-on-one with Raul Ruiz prior to him leaving to to qualifiers initially with Peru, and he was telling me that he was still not even used to this new formation. That it was odd for him to even play without a 10 behind him. So I can only imagine how Raul is going to be with a couple more games under his sleeves. He's going to come in and obviously he's played this formation a little bit better. So I mean, man, the sky is the limit for this guy. I really do feel like this is his year to hold the golden boot. I think that Will Bruin is the perfect partner for him up there because Will Bruin's going to take a lot of that physicality. He's going to draw in the defenders. He's going to drop back a little bit, and Raul could just play off of him. So, man, it's not just Raul Ruiz, but also Will Bruin who really makes space for Raul in this new formation. He doesn't have a 10, but he has a partner in Will Bruin that could really deflect a lot of that coverage. And I'm excited to see how they're going to pair up at LA to hold that back.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be the matchup everybody's going to see, right? Because you can only contain him at times, right? And make it rough on him. The other thing I want to see is, right, it's the midfield. It's going to be the midfield, right, for the LA Galaxy. We know Greg Vanney's still adjusting to certain things. There's been injuries. We don't know yet the status. We'll find out later this week the status of Jonathan Dos Santos, if he's going to be available for this game. But so far, the Galaxy do have Sebastian Lletget, right? He just comes back. He's coming back from playing with the U.S. national team. They won Nation League, which is amazing. He got to play in the game. But there's been a little bit of it's been Efrain Alvarez, Lletget, Kleshman, at times moving around, at times, playing that 10. What are your thoughts on this midfield and playing in this game, Chris?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a big battle of those midfields, right? Seattle has such a great midfield. The LA Galaxy is going to have to go toe-to-toe with it. Guys that could make a big difference in that midfield is Victor Vasquez, okay, who actually, if you remember the first Seattle game, he came out early. This is not a turf field. We're at home. He is hopefully 100% fit and healthy by now. But if Victor Vasquez is healthy and he's fit, he's going to play a crucial role in this game because it's something that the LA Galaxy's been missing throughout these last couple games. That creative edge that a guy like Victor Vasquez can bring to a game like this. Mm-hmm. Sebastian Lletget is going to be a great addition. Having him back is always great. He's having a great season so far, not only with the LA Galaxy, but also with the national team. So having him back is just big. It's enormous. Hopefully Jonathan Dos Santos is back on the field as well. He had that injury. It was a calf tightness. He's been having issues with it all season. His presence is always welcomed. He's a phenomenal player. So if that midfield is complete, in that sense, Victor Vasquez, Sebastian Lletget, and Jonathan Dos Santos, I believe we have a chance.
Yeah, and it's going to be the thing also, right? I'm with you on the midfield, but I think also on the other side of things, I know what the Galaxy can do with Victor Vasquez. I think Victor Vasquez is going to be crucial for this game, whether he starts or doesn't, because the playmaking abilities, how he opens up the game for Chicharito, how he puts the ball where he's supposed to put it. Right, he knows they have a better understanding. I think the thing with Victor Vasquez is just his health. I think what was it, his hip or his hamstring? I don't recall the injury.
It was his groin.
Oh, it's growing. See,
Interior, yeah.
So
Which
I think
is such a delicate little muscle, and even when you feel good, you can re-aggravate the injury very easily, and at his age, it's very easy to do. So hopefully he's back to near fitness.
And what I was going to say to that with Victor Vasquez is just the playmaking ability to open up the game and move the ball around and put the pieces. But on the other side, Nico, one player that's really stood out to me is Christian Roldan and what he's done with the Seattle Sounders. Talk to me about him, because he's a guy that can just literally change the game in a second with the pass and adjustment. And I think I've seen that when he's played both LA teams, LAFC and LA Galaxy. His playmaking ability is also spectacular.
Look, guys, Christian Roldan has been a crucial and fundamental player for Seattle for years. I mean, I remember arguing with Siggy Smith about letting him get more playtime in general. I mean, that's how long I've been following this guy. And what changes these days is that the lack of Nicolas Odero in this particular formation emphasizes so much more on what he's able to do. Is that mixed function, that box-to-box ability, his physical awareness, smart, and his ability to just cover space. It's a little bit of everything. I mean, his intelligence, I've always called him, he's like a V8 on a small Honda body. I mean, he just his lungs are huge, man. This guy just runs all day long. And I've been someone who's always been a Christian Roldan guy. So this year, absolutely, obviously, Chris mentioned Joao being the most valuable player, the best player for Seattle today. I don't think that's wrong, and it's another great player. But if it was up to me, if I had to choose one right now, aside from Raul Ruiz, it'd be Christian Roldan, because he's so important of everything he does. I mean, he's literally doing a little bit of everything in this formation, and he's doing so much more now that he's covering so much more space than before. I mean, he's changed completely, right? He played the wing. He was kind of doing that. He played the center defensive midfield with another center defensive midfielder.
You know what it is, though, right? It's the Salvadorian genetics, man. That's what it is.
There you go. There we go. It is.
And he'll say
stamina.
For me to bring it back, it's because he's from LA. That's why. He's from Pico Rivera. That's why.
I think he's from Artesia or something like that. Yeah.
He's proud of both.
Hey, his brother works for the Galaxy, so maybe.
And the one thing about Christian, he always shows up in these LA games. He shows up in every game, but I feel like he puts a little bit more emphasis of him being back home, right? And I think that's the thing. To your point, we've seen him elevate, right? Is it because Nicolas Odero is still out, right? We're seeing, and right, if it wasn't for the U.S. men's national team having so much talent, you could also, he should get a shot, but there's just so much young talent there that's playing in Europe and everything, which totally makes sense. But I mean, out of the MLS players, right, we have Sebastian Lletget there, but I would also consider Christian Roldan. But it's
look,
just
guys,
so
I haven't been with you guys, and this is a hot take that I throw often, is that for me, Christian Roldan is the player that is best equipped to succeed in Europe. No knock to Jordan Morris, because he was fantastic. Obviously, he had the injury, but to me, his versatility, his range, his effort, work ethic, ability to just be that player that will do absolutely everything for the team, and his talent overall. I mean, man, he is the full package. I don't know how several teams in Europe have not come knocking on this guy's door. I feel like it's a huge misservice to him, because he has got everything to be successful in Europe.
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely brings a lot to the table, and it's interesting, right? Because you hopefully that he does get an opportunity to play in Europe, because we know what he can do, and he's definitely been killing it here. I want to talk about the goalkeeping now, Chris. We see Jonathan Bond day in, day out. Let's talk about this. He had by far his best game. I think it was the last game against the San Jose Earthquakes. He had like 12 saves, I believe, or something. Man of the match.
Tied for a record, yes.
Tied for a record. So let's talk about Jonathan Bond. Right? The goals he's conceded. I've said this before. I don't think those are his fault. and he had a shutout game right before the break. Going into this game, he's going to be right. He's going to be tested. It's the Seattle Sounders, right? But I think this game, I don't know if it's going to be a shutout because it's the Sounders. But I think, he is definitely going to be challenged. And what are your thoughts on Bond going into this game?
It's such a calming and reassuring presence to have in the back line, to have a goalkeeper like Jonathan Bond, because, as we saw in that San Jose game, our defense was very leaky. San Jose just peppered our goal. It was shot after shot after shot. That game should have definitely ended with a different score line in favor of San Jose. But Jonathan Bond came up big, and he has been coming up big for the LA Galaxy from the very first game of the season. We've seen it time and time again. The goal differential doesn't reflect the work that Jonathan Bond has done in that goal. I feel confident, and this is me as a fan, right? We've heard the players express as much during the press conferences. They feel confident when they're asked about Jonathan Bond. There's that calming presence. We've seen how vocal he is with the back line. He's directing them, he's yelling at them. We haven't seen that from a Galaxy goalkeeper in a very long time. We haven't felt that calming presence since Jaime Pinedo. In all honesty, we've had Dan Kennedy, Donovan Ricketts that back there. We had Brian Rowe, Kempen, you name it, right? Diop and Bingham. You just don't have that same feeling as you do with Jonathan Bond now. So he's definitely going to be key in this game, because I know for a fact, anyone out there with 2 brain cells knows for a fact that the Seattle Sounders is going to come out guns blazing. They're not here for a draw. They're not here for anything else. They're here for a win. Okay, so they're going to come out guns blazing, and Jonathan Bond back there puts a little confidence in me.
100%, and I would say I would add on to that too as well. He's already done so much, but I feel like in this game, right, because of what we expect the Sounders are going to do, I think he may have to do a little more than what he's done. But Niko, let's talk about your guys' goalkeeping situation, because I don't know if Stephen Fry, give us an update of what's going on with Stephen Fry, because I know you guys had some backups.
Yeah, there's no update. Ever since late May, I believe it was May 28th, when Brian initially told us that unfortunately Stefan had developed some blood clots. Obviously, that requires blood thinners and things that do not allow him to be on the field. At this point, he's still undetermined. There has been no update on a long or short time window when he'll be back. So that's a big question mark there, right? Because Stephen Cleveland has done well, but he hasn't really been tested, I would say. Atlanta didn't necessarily test him often. Austin had that one where Javier Arraga has an issue coming out from the back, and they come in on a counter, and he does a great job at getting big and stops the ball. But I feel like if there is a weak point or an Achilles heel to this Seattle team, would be on goal, just because of how huge, how monumental, how important Stephen Fry has been on goal, with huge saves and his leadership back there, his ability to yell at his back line and said, hey, you're getting too far. Or, he's yelling at Brad Smith, hey, palm back a little bit, at Alex. I mean, he does just more than being a fantastic keeper and keeping Seattle from getting scored on. But also that leadership is something that you miss when he's not quite there. So definitely he's going to be tested against LA if you guys are able to obviously get through that midfield and eventually get Javier Hernandez in positions of goal, unlike what happened here in Seattle. So I'm interested in seeing how he plays that game as well.
Yeah, Chris, let's talk about that, because I think, he just had on the point, one of the weaknesses for the Seattle Sounders is to be goalkeeping, right? And
Sure.
To test them out, right? Obviously, we think of Chicharito, but also think of the players in the midfield. Kevin Cabral, we know what he can do, right? And Samuel Grandsir. We've seen him, he's the one that created the goal opportunity for them. So I think this is a great game for all these guys to come out and test out the keeper.
Right. And that was a perfect way of putting it, Niko, the Achilles heel of the Seattle team, if you could even call it that, because this is such a solid ironclad team. It's going to be that. and the inexperience of Cleveland. Because listen, looking back at his career, the majority of his career was spent in the lower division, right? USL, if I'm not mistaken. So not a lot of MLS experience. Definitely not a lot of experience versus a striker of the caliber of Chicharito. His ability to find those spots, those areas in that box, he can really be a thorn in the side of a relatively unexperienced goalkeeper like Cleveland. So that's a good way to see it. The Galaxy can exploit that, the inexperience of Cleveland, right? And this is going to be a big game. This is going to be a big game, full capacity for LA at home. There's going to be a lot of pressure. Listen, I know the Galaxy fan base, right? Listen, they're going to be yelling quite loud at that goalkeeper, right? So I do not envy him. Okay, he's going to be getting yelled at. So it might weigh really heavy on him, and it can really take him out of the game. Galaxy has to exploit that. So I can see that as a weakness for sure.
Yeah, and I think just adding on to that, right? I want to see if it's Victor Vasquez and Sebastian Lletget taking shots from outside the 18, because if you get a ricochet that hits the crossbar, the keeper doesn't get it, then you assume Chicharito can come up and clean it up. Because I think those are going to be some of the opportunities that Chicharito, if it's a tight game, which I assume it may be, I don't think, Niko is saying is going to be as open, but if it's a tight game, Lletget has a shot from outside the 18, Chicharito's there, either put it back in the net or for a goal opportunity. And I think that's where the game could be won and lost, right? It could come down to that. And I think some of the go ahead.
The Galaxy so far this season, if I'm not mistaken, has yet to score a goal on a set piece. They have yet to score a goal on a set piece. So this is also something they can exploit. Now you're saying guys that can take long shots like Victor Vasquez, Lletget. I know Brian Schmetzer, the guy he's a genius when analyzing games. And I know for a fact that he watches these videos of the teams that he's playing against, and he knows the strengths. And obviously he's going to know that set pieces aren't a strength for the Galaxy. Maybe the Galaxy can use that to their advantage, and they can try for those set piece shots against an inexperienced goalkeeper like Cleveland. So this could be an avenue as well for the Galaxy, a road to victory.
You bring up a great point, Niko. I want to ask you about this. We saw, I think it was the week 2 or whatever, whenever you guys played LAFC, of when Stefan Fry didn't want what was it, Raul Ruidíaz? I don't know, Nuhu, right? Under the line of the defenders, right? And obviously, I think Eduardo Tuesta is scoring the goal. Talk to me about how that has changed on Brian Schmetzer thinking on defending these set pieces.
I don't think it's changed much. I mean, he kind of, I asked him about it 2 or 3 times, I believe, and he kind of just blew it off. And I just think that is something that they will look forward in the future. But when we talked, he basically said we'd rather not to put a player that's going to be potentially putting a guy on side if he's just laying there. What we would rather do is just have the wall not jump. So if there is going to be a situation like that one, I would suspect that that's what they will do, is just put the wall up, nobody jumps, they just stick their ground, and that's how they take it. However, Seattle is yet to receive a goal in line of play. They've both been off of a PK or a set piece, so it is something that perhaps LA can do. And once again, I think Chris hit it right on. I mean, I was going to talk about that when it comes to an unexperienced keeper, and there's a crowd and there's like an atmosphere. Set pieces tend to be somewhere where you're either taking a step too far left, too far right in a free kick, or you're coming out to punch the ball and you totally miss, or things like that. Miscommunications with your defenders can obviously be an issue. And like I said, this is no knock on Stephen Cleveland, because he's been great. And Tom Dutra is one of the best keeper coaches in the league, if not the best. But unexperienced, and obviously, if there was to be an Achilles heel to the Seattle team, it'd have to be there, just because, he just hasn't had that much MLS playtime.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense, and I think one of the things when I look at both of these teams, right, it's both are as of right now. I already know what the Seattle Sounders have done for the number of years, right? The Galaxy, completely different team. We know with Greg Vanny and what Chicharitos has done. These are both teams that are, could potentially meet later down the line, obviously in the playoffs or in the Western Conference, depending how seeding, Western Conference Finals, right, depending how seeding goes. So this is not going to be, I don't know how many games they're going to play after this one, or this may be the final. I haven't looked that far in the schedule, but we are going to see. I have a funny feeling that we're going to see these teams come playoff time, whether it's the second round, first round, or wherever, right? Mostly the second round, because we're going to learn a lot about this both of these teams. I think a little bit more about the Galaxy, because I think I don't want to say that this is not a big game for the Sounders. I think every game is big, but I think a lot of people are expecting to see how the Galaxy are going to bounce back from that 3-0 deficit that happened weeks ago, right? And I think you want to change. If Greg Vanny, you're at home, you want to change that. You're back with the fans, full capacity. What did you learn? Well, right, you switched up. I think Greg Vanny switched up his formation when it played the Seattle Sounders the first time. This time around, I think he may have overthought it from what I'm remembering, but I think now with having most of his players back. We'll find out who's going to be available, but I think what's going to come down to, and the thing what we've seen with Greg Vanny, is he's able to make adjustments. He'll adjust, right, Chris? He'll adjust whether it's at the formation or a player, and it's a chess match, right? You got Brian Schmetzer, who arguably I believe is the best coach in MLS right now, and Greg Vanny, who is looking like the coach of the year, in my opinion, if he's able to turn around the Galaxy like the way he's doing and continues to do this. But Chris, give me your thoughts. What are your score predictions for this game?
There's going to be goals. I know that for a fact. There's going to be goals. But as far as trying to predict a score line here, I'm going to go ahead and say unbiasedly that this game is looking like a tie. Okay, and
Tie.
hey, listen.
I don't know if
Galaxy
fans are gonna turn on you if you say
they're gonna turn on me, but I have to be realistic. This is the second best offense in the league, second only to I think Sporting Kansas City, who scored 16 goals so far all season. The Seattle Sounders are a potent team, okay, and defensively they're solid. They've allowed 3 goals all season. That is mind blowing. So. This is one of those games where the LA Galaxy has to kind of hunker down. They have to try for the win, of course. They're at home. They're undefeated at home so far. They have to try for the win. But if they do get goals, okay, and I do predict that the Galaxy will get at least 1 or 2, okay, they cannot allow Seattle to score, okay, period. But knowing Seattle and knowing the potency that they have in that offense, it might happen. It's very realistic. So I'm maybe thinking a 2-2 draw. Okay. And this is one of those draws that might actually feel like a win. Okay. So I'll go with that.
I would have to disagree. I don't think this game, if a draw, I don't think a draw would feel like a win to LA Galaxy. I think only a win. I think only beating the Seattle Sounders would feel like a win, because I would feel like that if if the Galaxy were at 80%, 70%, they're missing. I know they're missing Derek Williams. They may be without Jonathan Dos Santos, but they're gonna have. I'm assuming Chicharito will still be for this game. But I think if they get a win, it's a win.
If Victor Vasquez is healthy and he's a starter in that center attacking midfield position, if you have Sebastian Lletget in there, and if you have both your French wingers ready to go, and they're stepping up to this game, then you have a very good chance of outscoring the Seattle Sounders, even if it's by a goal, okay? And then everything else is going to rest on that defense. But if you have Victor Vasquez, that's going to add another dimension to that attack. It's going to allow so much chance creation, play creation. It's going to allow freedom to the wingers, and it's going to allow freedom to Chicharito. So that's it. A lot hinges on that, in all honesty.
Yeah. Before we get to you, Nico, people in the chat, let me know what you guys' score predictions. Do you agree with Chris? I do feel like it's going to be a tight game, and I do feel like it could potentially be a tie. Let me know what you guys think. If this game will be a tie, what score predictions? Nico, give us your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I agree that this is going to be a very different game than it was in Seattle. But once again, I do believe that Seattle is very well equipped to really hold off or resist and try to black out whatever the LA Galaxy can do on the attacking third. I think Cabral is a player that makes things a little bit different. He got behind Seattle's defenders, I think twice, and in one of them, I think Steph had to make a save in Seattle. So he's a very interesting player. But I think Seattle's going to take the win. I think that they're going to come in with the same mentality, their ability to be elite and precise in counterattacks. That's been the biggest change that this time has had. For me, the biggest change I've seen in Seattle is how elite they are right now in their transition from defense to offense. 4-5 passes, they're on top of you. There is Raul in the right position, or Brad Smith making the run in the second post, and they're scoring. So I think Seattle's going to take a win. If I had to take a score, I would say 2-1. I think that once again, Stephen Cleveland perhaps might let one go by, and to the respect that I have for Vanny and this LA Galaxy attack, I think a 2-1 would be good. But I expect Raul Ruidiaz to have a fantastic game and to at least put one in the back of the net. So yes, 2-1 win for Seattle.
2-1. I agree with those scores. It's going to be a tight. Tony in the chat says he has 3-1 LA Galaxy. I mean, that would be a statement, right? That would be a statement. That would be a statement. I think that's what the Galaxy are looking to do after being shut out 3-0. But I think for me, I think the X factor is Kevin Cabral, because if he's able to do what he did last game against the San Jose Earthquakes, and he does that to the Seattle Sounders, and the game opens up for Chicharito, and it just opens up for everybody, because if he's able to beat people with just his pure talent and speed on the wing, it's going to open up, and I think that Seattle Sounders may have a chance. But if they're able to shut him down, it's the same thing for the Seattle Sounders. Then on the other side, they got all the momentum. But guys, that's all the time we have. Great show. Niko, let the people know where they can follow you.
Hey, well, first of all, thank you, man. I had a blast. I could probably talk to you guys for a whole other hour, but as you guys see, my phone keeps ringing anyhow, so I'm going to have to answer quite a few calls here in a second. But hey, all you guys could find me at El Rolo, NW, ELROLO, just like the candy. NW, that is
what candy is that?
Ad.
I don't know what candy is that.
Yeah, apparently it's a candy here. It's like a chocolate caramel. Rolo is just what they call people from Bogota, from Colombia. That's why they call me El Rolo, is because I'm from Bogota, and so that's just kind of the thing about it. But the candy here kind of kills it, because everybody's like, "Oh, is it a candy?" No, it's not a candy. I don't even like the candy. I don't like chocolate caramel, guys. So I'm sorry, it's not. It's a Colombian thing. It's from the city of Bogota. But you can find me there. All of my English stuff at SoundersAtHeart. Of course, follow Pulso Sports. We have great interviews. We should have one with Santiago Rodriguez from the NYCity FC here this week. Obviously, our page at Pulso Sports, obviously. And whatever I throw in at the MLS page in Spanish, you could always see it on my tweets. And, thanks for having me, guys.
No, Niko, it was a pleasure to have you, and giving us the insight on the Seattle Sounders. Chris, let the people know where they can follow you.
Sure. First of all, Niko, it was a pleasure meeting you, sir. It was phenomenal work that you put out. Gio, thanks again for having me, brother. Whenever you need me on, I'll be here. My content is primarily on YouTube, and I put out a video every Monday, usually after every game. And that's the Galaxy Guy podcast on YouTube. You can find me on social media. My Instagram is very active. That's at the Galaxy Guy podcast. Simple. Find me on Twitter, the Galaxy Guy Pod, and always fairly active on social media. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. I tend to answer all my DMs. And I'm partial to gingerbread men. That's my snack.
So, guys, if you heard that, slide into the DMs. And before we close things off, Andy says, Rolos are good, both the candy and my peoples. Andy's also Colombian. So,
yeah, saludos al parcero. That's my guy. Yeah, definitely. Saludos to him for sure. And, nice to meet you too, Chris. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. One more small plug. Soccer Down Here. Soccer Down Here every Thursday. We do it with the guys from Atlanta. Thursdays 7:30 our time in the West Coast. Love those guys. We get a lot of good content. We talk Atlanta, talk West Coast soccer, MLS, CONMEBOL, a little bit of everything. So Soccer Down There is what it's called.
Nice. Well, guys, you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to these guys. And you guys listening, come join us on Monday nights. We're talking LA Galaxy every Monday night. And you guys can comment and everything. Get these going for this preview for Saturday. If you guys want to follow me, you guys can follow me at Gio Garcia LA. So for Niko and Chris, this is Gio. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.